Every day on Reddit and other places, I see a dozen or more topics that pop up from new players asking questions. What mod should I use for Morrowind? I'm new to the game. How do I install mods? What tips can you give me for modding? Etc. etc. Like here's an example of one right on Reddit from today. I decided to make a little instructional video on how to install the three must-have mods for any vanilla Morrowind gameplay. The first one is the Morrowind code patch. And what you do is you click, I will put these links in the description below. What you do is you click Morrowind code patch, brings you to the mod page that it exists. You go to files, and then you look for the main file, the most recent main file, which is this top one right here, main file. These are optional. Just ignore those. If you don't know what you're doing, just ignore those other ones. Get the main one. Do manual download. Don't ever use the mod manager from Nexus. It's terrible and complicated. It's ridiculously overly complicated. Don't use it. What you do is you manually download. Do slow download. Save the file to wherever your download location is. Go to it, right click, open the containing folder, or you can just open it. I'm using WinRAR for this file type. This compressed file type is WinRAR. So what you do is, for the code patch, is well, you can read the README if you want to, or you can just follow the directions that I'm giving you. So you want to highlight the code patch and these two files here. The text files you don't have to copy. So right click, extract to specified folder. Now and then you want to find the directory that your Morrowind program is in. For this one, it's going to be my Steam version of the game. So I would go to Steam, Steam Apps, Common, and this would be where all my Steam games are located. Then I would find Morrowind and just click Morrowind. I don't have to open it and go any further for the code patch. The code patch just goes into the main Morrowind folder. So then I would click OK. I'm not going to do it now because I already have it installed there. So I would click OK, and if it asks to overwrite any files, you would say yes. So once you've done that, then you want to open your file manager or file explorer, whatever version of Windows you're using. Then you want to go to that folder, Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Morrowind, and then you would find the Morrowind code patch.exe in here, and then you would run it. Simple as that. Now you'll get this. This is the code patch client. It has all the changes that this mod does. It has bug. We'll start with bug fixes. All the bug fixes are already by default activated, and unless there's some weird reason that you need to disable a bug fix, don't. International. There's a couple of fixes in here for localization issues if you have any. And if you want to see what any of these do, you just click on them, and over on the right it'll explain what each of these things does. Now, so if you're playing the English version of the game, you don't need to do this. Interface changes. Now a lot of these are off by default. So What you need to do is you need to actually go through each one of these and read description to see what they do and if whether or not you think you need it. Um, if you're not sure of what something is, just leave it off. If unless it's already on by default. Mod specific. These are things for mod creators. Um, except for except for there's a couple in here that are not just for mod creation. Like this one here, the NPC AI cast zero cost powers. This can make the vanilla game a little harder, as it activates NPCs zero cost abilities for like the the racial abilities. In vanilla, they don't use them because of the way the game chooses spells and abilities. But the code patch can allow the AI to use those abilities against you while you're playing. This can make, like I said, this can make the game a little more challenging if you activate that. I always activate it because I like the challenge. And there's a couple other ones in here, like the weapon resistance change. Enchanted weapons no longer bypass normal weapon resistance that many Daedra possess. So basically, what this means is, well, in the vanilla game, if a weapon is magical, it bypasses the weapon resistance on special creatures. But if you use this in the code patch, it changes it so that it's only based on the material of the weapon, not whether or not it's magic. So if you have like a magic iron sword, that will not bypass the weapon resistance of special creatures. You would have to have a like a Daedric or a silver weapon in order to bypass those specific weapon resistances for those creatures. I usually leave this off because it makes the game it makes things a little annoying to me to do that. Anyway, and then you can read through these to see which ones you want to activate or not activate. Most of these are only for modding, but some of them are not. Visuals. This is just for the camera. Rain. Like I said, just if you're not sure what they do, leave them on default. I honestly, I don't. I mean, if you like third person, over the shoulder third person camera, you can turn that on. I usually don't change these because I prefer first person. And the game mechanics, these are a lot of like little engine changes and fixes, modifications, which make the game a lot better. Most of these are off by default. So when you do come to the code patch, you're going to want to look through all of these and add them if you want these changes. So for example, swift casting is off by default, and what it does is good. It allows the player to immediately cast from any stance by using the ready magic key instead of having to switch to your hands. If you played the vanilla game, you know what I'm talking about, and that in the vanilla version is kind of annoying. If you play vanilla and you use magic, say you have a sword in your hand and you're using a sword and you want to switch to a magic spell, the game makes you put your sword away, then raise your hands to use magic. It's time consuming to do that, and while that's going on, you're getting smacked by enemies. So what the swift casting does is it basically just lets you cast spells without having to do that transition between a weapon and your magic hands. It just lets you shoot magic out automatically, even while you have your sword and shield in hand. It's off by default. I always turn it on because it works for NPCs too, I believe. Anyway, That's just one example of all of these different changes in here. You see I've got most of these checked. I don't have them all checked. I have most of them checked. But when you install the code patch, make sure you look at each one of these and activate the ones that sound good to you. That you know that you would like to have it turned on in your game. And that's it for the code patch. Well, once you've gone through all these and checked all the boxes you want checked, then you would check down here and you'd apply your chosen patches, and it's like boom, it's done. Then you can get out of here. And you can always come back here to modify these again at any time and just use apply your changes. Simple as that. Now, the Morrowind's graphic extender, MGEXE, is installed the exact same way. Extract it to the main Morrowind folder, just like the code patch. Then, once you have that in here, you come to your folder, your Morrowind folder again. Double click on the MGEXE GUI. That's graphic user interface. And you have to do this because if you don't, then it's not going to work properly. So you come here, you have these different tabs. This is your resolution. You can set your resolution here. It won't matter what you have it set at in the game. If you set it here, this will override it. And then here, obviously, anti-aliasing settings, anisotropic filtering settings. I don't know why this is on 8. I had it set on off. Here you can set your field of view. The graphics extender sets a default on auto of like 93, but I do not like that. I change it to 75, which is the default for vanilla Morrowind. Sorry. By default, the shaders will be off. If you have a killer computer, you may want to enable shaders, which I do. And then once you've enabled shaders, you have to go to shader setup. And then you have to choose either a preset, or you can go through each of these individually and turn them on, off, or choose their setting on your own. If you hold your mouse over any of these, it'll give you an explanation of what each setting does. So I don't need to explain it. You can just look at that. This is you don't have to do this. You can do all of this just by doing the presets. This is basically just lets you do them manually. It's like the old version of the extender of setting shaders. This is the easy way. Just you don't have to go this way. Then save it. These other things, I don't mess with them. Display FPS if you want. I don't. FPS limiter if you want to limit the frame rate. There's no really reason why to do that. After that, you need to go to also if you window mode, borderless mode. It's borderless by default. Usually the default settings don't need changing except for shaders and the anti-aliasing and anisotropic filtering. Now for the distant land. When you come to distant land, there won't be distant land. You have to run the distant land generator wizard. You have to do this, otherwise it won't work in the game. So, and as you can see, you want to have all of these checked, then continue. There's no way to change the load order in here, so you can use currently. You can click this. It doesn't really do anything. Click continue, and then it will begin the process of creating the distant land. Now it doesn't do this automatic setup everything. The first time you do it, you have to go through each setting individually, which would be this. It'll come to this first, and you can change these. I wouldn't, unless you have a really sick computer with, like super high resolution and all that. But if you do, but otherwise you would just leave those alone. Create land textures. It's best to leave this on default. If you change it to very high or ultra high, you may experience a little bit of stuttering. Even on really good computers, it'll still just a little tiny bit of stuttering. I did it before on very high, and it stuttered a little bit. Even though my computer is really good, it still stuttered a little. So I changed it back to the default setting of high. Then you would click create land meshes. I never change anything in here. And then you would click create statics. Unless you're an advanced user of this mod, I wouldn't mess with any of this stuff. Yes. Now it will create the statics. Now this is going through all the stuff that it would do if it was just if you set it to do automatic, but on your first time it doesn't do auto. The only and you would have to run this distant land generator again if you add more mods. If you add more graphical mods, you would have to run. Well, you might not have to, but most cases you would have to run the land generation wizard again to account for the new graphical changes if you add graphic mods. Doesn't take very long. It's still going on my once it's done, it'll say you can click finish. Still going. I have a lot of graphic replacers in this. Come on. One thing you need to know is that the MGEXE comes with the latest MWSE. I'm not sure what that means, but it's required for a lot of different mods. And it's not a big it doesn't matter if you have it or not. It just it's something that some mods require. LUA mods, I think. And there's like Graphic Herbalism's latest version that doesn't use plugins, requires the MWSE mod, which it comes with the MGEXE, even though you don't see it. It is in there, and it will get installed right here in your data folder when you install the Morrowind graphic extender. Now for the third one, the patch for Purists. This one is a lot simpler. This one you would just extract it to your data folder. Let's see where I gotta go to it. My downloads. Where is it? Oh, I have it on my thumb drive. There it is. Patch for Purists. So what you would do is highlight each of the folders and files. Now these are optional. Book typos, decimal errors. I don't usually bother with them. because I don't want to have more ESPs than I need. But just for the patches themselves, you want all the folders and the main patch for Purists ESM. Then you would right click, extract to the specified folder, where you would find, again, you would go to your Morrowind folder. This one's different than the code patch and the extender. This one you would have to extract them into your data files. I'm not going to do it because I already got it. But once you got here, you would click OK, and then click Yes to All for any files that overwrite. And that's all you'd have to do for Patch for Pures. You don't have to do anything else. Now, that's all there is. These 3 mods are the biggest, most highly recommended must-haves to play Morrowind. Whether you're new or whether you are an old player. After that, you can go to the Nexus mods and pick what you want for graphic changes. It's like a buffet. I can show you if you like. Well, I'd have to go to Nexus mod. I'd want to browse all the files, all the Morrowind files. And here you can, if you open this up, you can choose the categories that you want to see files for. Models and textures if you just want to change graphics. Apply the filters. And then I usually go by either the last updated, so you can get mods that are newer, cleaner, or updated by other users. Then you just go through, and yeah, there's lots and lots of graphic replacers. You just pick and choose like you want at a buffet. And then 99% of these are just add them to your data folder. Now, once you've got mods, start your launcher, click data files, and then you would go through. Now, these would be most of these would be unchecked when you first install them. You open your launcher, you click data files, and you come in here and you just put an X in each box, and OK, and then play. And that's all there is to it.